We're back in the letter on the Everyone Lives route. So I do have to give you guys a bit of a warning. I don't know if there's going to be much of any change for the first part of Hannah's playthrough, and like worst case scenario, there may not be any changes at all other than we're going to try to save her marriage this time. Can't really make any promises, but if we can at least get her to survive that one night, all should be well with the world, right? So to kick things off, she starts with that penalty to Luke's affection because of the whole showing letter to Rose thing, and yeah. So we'll have to see if we can actually salvage this, but I'm not entirely sure. So without further ado, let's jump in, shall we? It is far too easy to get them to pay attention, enraptured. They hang on to my every word and follow my every move. All of it would have been stifling had I not grown used to such stares. Most are respectful, some are hostile if we are honest, and a few are downright inappropriate. After all, I am...
Kinda right!
There's a moment of agitation as a familiar but less than welcome face approaches me with a suggestive smirk on his face. Of course, I have to keep a benevolent smile and greet him as I greet any good friend. After all, this man can turn heads, being famous in his own right.
Officer Lee! What a pleasant surprise. I didn't think you'd have the time to attend tonight's party.
He is more Luke's friend than mine, really, and I'm quite sure I only invited his wife. Much like I'm only friends with the Chief Inspector because of Luke, Luke is only friends with Rochelle because of me. Unlike how I treated Lee, however, Luke never hid his animosity for the Lee matriarch. It was an odd sort of friendship where we'd have awkward double dates. I don't even recall his first name. It started with an N, I think. Might be wrong. Aside from being Chief Inspector of Luxembourg Police, his wife Rochelle Lee née Vance owns a general electronics company, fridges and freezers mostly.
Oh, I always have time for my favorite socialite couple. Might I say, you look positively ravishing tonight. I see the husband isn't with ya.
The way he eyes me up is enough to make my skin crawl. I just wish Luke was here to fend off the more unseemly of our peers. You know the ones. Men who are just a bit too friendly, staring too long at my assets and getting close just because my husband is not here. And I think they have the gall to do this at my own party. In my own house, if I might add. But like any high society woman with her salt, I know how to handle it with grace and dignity.
I suppose you are looking pleasant as well. Luke's busy with work, unfortunately. Rochelle isn't here?
A shame. I do hope he isn't causing you much trouble. That husband of yours can be a bit tough sometimes, acting like he's still some young bachelor. The wife sends her regards and her apologies, but something came up with a doctor and she needed to attend to it. You know her, being pregnant and all.
We make small talk. Rather, I'm forced to do so as he would not leave my side after finding his place there. Much to my chagrin, I've been extricated from the few who flock in hopes of flattering, for I can tolerate them far better than Lee. He is a nice enough person, and I adore his wife, who is obviously the brains behind the two. But there's something unsettling about him. I do not trust him as much as I want to. He regaled to me tales of the Luxembourg Police Department, a different affair to the usual gossip I'm privy to, and though I loathe to admit, is interesting nonetheless. I expect the topic of business to die out quickly, which would be understandable enough due to the confidential nature of his work. But oh boy, was I wrong.
So, wearing civvies, I steal and drive off with one of the police mobiles, right? In the mirror, I see the new tank chasing on foot and screaming about theft. The look on his face was priceless when I parked in the garage.
Oh my. You made him chase you all the way home for a prank. What did Rochelle have to say about that?
Rochelle has a strange love and hate affair with Lee. He is a married man who did not grow up past his early 20s, judging by the way he acts. Surprisingly enough, they've been married for a good 20 years. A lifetime if you compare it to my marriage of 7 years with Luke. I, on the other hand, well, Luke is no Lee. I should be happy about that, I suppose. Although my darling did have his moments.
Hey, the wife pulled my ear and gave me a good talking to, though. Besides, we live in a flat a block away, so it wasn't much of a grand chase.
Weren't you living in a house near the countryside?
Moved for work, you know. Or you probably don't.
No, I don't. But a flat in downtown. I suppose if that's what you like.
Oh, it's horrid. Hate that tiny place, no matter how convenient it can be for work. 55 square yards are not enough when you need to get away from the wife. I wouldn't mind a place away from the city. Even started looking at the ads.
So, I don't think I mentioned this last time, but 55 square yards, that's 5 by 11 in terms of yards, so 15... Hold on, am I doing this right? 15 feet one way, 33 feet the other, in case you're not really familiar with yards. It's a fairly short place, and based on what we've seen about his wife later, it definitely is not enough space.
I spied an interesting lot, actually. Heard it was finally put up for sale, or that something mansion. You know the one with all the ghost stories.
I know what he is talking about. There are really only a few urban legends around here. It's...
The Ermagood Mansion?
Ah, that's the one. Worthy of a king it is. I'd buy it myself, but Rochelle would only gripe if I brought it up to her. Not to mention all the expenses a place like that would be a real fixer-upper. You also have to find someone willing to work there with how superstitious people can be.
If it becomes a problem, just hire someone to do an exorcism.
Actually, I do know of someone who could be up to the task. You remember the Ludgates party at their Christchurch summer residence?
Of course. It was an excellent soiree. Everything was so classy, too. Such good taste.
Oh, that place was a pigsty until they hired out this interior designer and they turned it into a bloody palace. She worked for the Exodus for their apartment in Soho too, and they recommended her when we were looking up pieces for our beach house in Porto Colom. I think I have a business card No, I must have left it in my other jacket. Anyway, she's called, what's her name? Marianne, I believe, yes. But truly, if anyone were to get that place in McCullough, well, they'd be the envy and the talk of the town.
Well, if you put it that way, I might just snatch it up for myself. This place was starting to feel a bit small lately anyway.
Sure, a 3-story penthouse might not fit the definition of small for some people. Okay, maybe a lot of people. But it isn't big enough to have grand parties in. As it is, I only invited about 30 people to this one, and it already feels cramped in here. Certainly would be nice if I didn't have to ride an elevator up and down several floors before I can get anywhere as well. All Luke's words and not mine. Besides, I've been looking for a good anniversary gift. Luke might like this one. Where is he anyway? Luke is dressed to the nines as he usually is and ready for whatever the day will throw at him. His butler and valet waits at his side just in case he isn't as ready as he looks. Oh sure, that is normal. What is confusing me is the fact that he is on his way out of the penthouse, considering we won't have anywhere to go until much later.
Where are you going?
I am to attend the Triad Autumn Tasting. I do believe I informed you of this 2 weeks ago.
Yes. And might I remind you that I had stricken that off your schedule? Because 1, the doctor told you to stop consuming so much alcohol. And 2, I informed you a few days ago about the open house we are going to attend in its place. I've even found this marvelous interior designer, Mary Ann McCullough.
It's a 3.5-hour drive to Cardiff. I don't have time for this. This is like that little party you threw all over again. You don't inform me of it, and you expect me to stay and be a gracious host when I have business elsewhere. You know how I operate, Hannah. Unless this was penciled in, I am sticking to my schedule.
Yeah, I don't know why that popped up, but okay.
If I may intrude, the madam is correct. Your physician did insist you moderate your drinking, unless you wish to incur acute pancreatitis.
So this is swelling to the pancreas.
And you did have this open house penciled in last Wednesday morning.
Bullocks, I don't remember doing so.
Well, you did. While very hungover, in fact.
He did. Moaned about me being too loud, but gave in after some pushing. Perhaps that was a bit too cruel and manipulative of me, but...
Whose side are you on?
Come on, Luke. You promised we'd do whatever I want this weekend.
Gordon Bennett, fine. I am giving this house tour of yours a chance. But if it proves to be a waste of time, I am going to Cardiff, and you are going to take a cab home. Are we clear?
It's just a bit of a husband and wife tit for tat, isn't it? All couples have their arguments. Once the honeymoon phase is over, as they seem to call it, reality sets in that you and your partner might not always see eye to eye. Perhaps it's been the years. Some of them is nothing to scoff at.
I just cannot bloody believe I agreed to this. I was really looking forward to the triad tasting.
Though sometimes I think it's something a bit more than just simple disagreements. And I have to stop myself from wondering where we went wrong.
There's always the Triad Christmas tasting in Manchester next month, and that'll only be an hour and a half drive.
Have I been neglectful? Have I offended? Have I acted shamefully?
Yes, but Cardiff.
Certainly, any problem can be discussed. As long as he doesn't turn me away.
Well, there goes my good mood. Are you happy now, Hana?
Why must he treat me this way? So, Luke is kind of complicated. I explained this in the previous playthrough, but in order to appease him, you actually do have to challenge, argue, and fight with him. He loves to fight. So if you choose to remain silent, he's going to lose even more affection, and this is a necessary choice for Hannah's demise. So let's defend ourselves.
Yes, I am very happy, Luke. Because for once in a very long time, we are doing what I want.
So we gained ground, even though that seems so contradictory. But then again, I guess Luke is a man of contradiction.
I'm ecstatic. Understood. And this would be perfect if you stop acting like a child who needs their nappy changed. We will be leaving after lunch for the Ermengarde mansion. You are going to park your rear in the car and keep mum. And you are going to behave during the tour.
Needless to say, Luke looks a bit shocked at my little outburst. He opened and closed his mouth a few times, struggling to reply before he crosses his arms to look like, well, a moping child.
Any more rules for this little excursion of yours, Your Highness?
No wine.
No wine? Unacceptable! I am already not allowed to the tasting, and you would deprive me of that simple pleasure?
If I see you take one sip today, I will put the stocks under lock and key. Do you understand me?
Don't forget the bottles he keeps in his dresser.
Whose side are you on?
How many times in one day can you ask that?
As many times as I need you, traitor.
The ride to the mansion is quiet, with Luke having stared out the window the entire way, not paying attention to anything around him. Meanwhile, I am conflicted. I don't know if I should apologize for changing his plans like that. But by the time we arrive at the mansion, I see his eyes light up in genuine interest. Apologizing is the last thing on my mind. The whole affair with the Ermengarde mansion is certainly an interesting experience. The place had been renovated and restored by the owners to what they claimed to be acceptable standards. The mansion itself looks like something befitting a fairy tale or a period piece. It is tastefully decorated, and with a little bit of love and attention, I'm sure it can be a place Luke and I can call home. And the number of other prospective buyers that have come from the powerful and wealthy of Luxborn certainly did not disappoint, marking this estate as prime property. The Lees are amongst the group who went with the Rose Woman, and I saw a few other notable faces, though I did not really feel like mingling. Unfortunately for every one of them, the Wrights are interested in buying. What's bugging my mind, however, is that Isabella. What is her problem? I still don't quite understand what's happening. One moment she is scrambling to give us the paperwork to finalize the sale. Then she is panicking over some sort of prank letter or another. Second thing on my mind is how touchy my darling husband is being towards the poor dear. I cannot even plaster a smile on my face, a horrid scowl taking its place. There's no way I can pretend nothing is wrong as I hum.
And I'm sure little Lily here would certainly appreciate it if you remove your pretty hands from her, darling.
He is quick enough to detract his hand, which is all the girl needs to, well, for lack of a better word, escape.
I think I need to step out for a while. I'll be back.
Her partner follows, shouting after her without hesitation. There's an awkward air among us as we are left in the wake of whatever that was. The others murmur and gossip with each other, speaking of the poor daft girl and telling the tale to whoever was not audience to the act in the first place. It doesn't take too long for the woman Rose to return and pull us aside into the study for what I rightfully assume is damage control. Rose invites Marianne in too, hoping to apologize to her as well. But the woman refuses, saying she is not one of her clients anyway. That leaves myself, Rose, and Luke, the last all too eager to make himself comfortable in a study he's no doubt already claimed as his own.
I can't apologize enough about what just happened. Please forgive Isabella. She's been under a lot of pressure lately. She's young, and all those rumors about this being haunted just got to her head. And it must be this terrible heat, too. Not a drop of rain for days now.
Oh, it's fine. The poor girl must feel so embarrassed about what she just did. But I say, let bygones be bygones. After all, she's only a child. She looked, what, 19?
I shoot Luke an accusing look at these words. After all, he tried flirting with the girl. The nerve of him. And not only that Isabel girl, but also Marianne and Rose too. What kind of husband would think it's even a remotely good idea to make moves on 3 different women while his wife stands there? Did he drink while I wasn't looking?
She's a bit older than that. But again, I apologize. And if there's any way I can make up for what just happened, just...
I know what you can do. Be a darling flower and get us one of those bottles you plan to serve. Pop it open.
We were planning on serving some champagne. I can get that.
That would be lovely. Much obliged.
Do you want a glass as well, Ms. Wright?
Oh no, I'm fine. I really shouldn't be drinking right now.
I wonder why, Hannah. And Luke shouldn't be either. But right now I am just too tired for any sort of argument. I don't have the heart to scold him in public as well. I am certainly not his mother. I just want to get this horrid day done with and go home and go to sleep. Perhaps I'll even have a strong cuppa before I head off to bed. Yes, that sounds nice. When Rose comes back with the champagne, I beckon her over. As I have told her partner before, I have every intent of acquiring this house. I might as well, even if I'm having second thoughts about getting it for Luke. The moment we, the Wrights, had expressed interest in this place, we've had eyes set on us. If we don't buy it, that might as well be the signal for to have the busybodies gossip about how we may or may not have lost our fortune. Regardless of the fact that it is false image is everything when dealing with these people. These are the unspoken rules for people such as ourselves. And besides, I really did like the place. Why, everything here is absolutely wonderful. Except for this ugly painting in the study. It looks like a bad fake of an Edvard Munch painting. So if you don't know, I think his name is pronounced Munch, but I'm not entirely sure. I may be mispronouncing it. He's the guy who did The Scream. That's hands down the single #1 work he's known for.
Here's the deal. I'm willing to pay 10% higher than your listing price. If anyone tries to outbid us, just add another 5%. I doubt anyone can, of course. Or, you know what? Just add 15% to the listing price, and we can sign all the paperwork now.
I guess, if that's what you want. That won't be any trouble. I don't have all the papers now. Didn't think this would be a quick sell. I'll have copies sent to you so you can look over them. And if you'd still like to finish the rest of the tour with Isabella's group, you're more than welcome to.
No, I think we're good here. We'd appreciate a private tour of the place a lot more, I think.
All right. Should I let Marianne in, then?
Marianne? Oh, right. She's been waiting outside the study this whole time, hasn't she? I'll need to have a little chat with her to move this little mansion project forward.
Please do.
There's a look of apprehension when the other woman enters the study. Yet, like a professional, I see the moment when she steels herself and masks her worry. Admirable.
We have this project then?
Of course. Will you be needing anything from us?
Having the floor plans would be a great start, just so that I can look at them beforehand. And if you could tell me when you're available for a meeting so that I can include it in my calendar?
Oh, is a meeting really all that necessary, Marianne? I guess we can send Johans to help you out. You two can start by getting rid of this ugly painting.
A hush falls upon the room at my request,
What painting?
and lo and behold, the painting is gone. In its place, a mirror stands, which leads me to look at my own confused expression.
Odd. Well, no matter. Back to the topic at hand. Marianne, dear, we are simply far too busy to meet up.
Or perhaps maybe I should... Now, I'm trying to be friends with Marianne, so... free up the schedule. I don't actually know if this affects her affection at all.
But I guess we can free up a day to meet with you.
And it does. So, just a little bit of a disclaimer in case you didn't know, if we cannot actually get the Hannah-Luke romance ending, I'm going to aim for Marianne Hannah.
I don't really need another Maudlin Monday reading about Maury anyway. The book club can function without me for one day. What time shall we be seeing each other? How does lunch sound?
Besides, my house has a higher priority over book club. Why, we can hold the next meeting in this place. Surely the beauty and grandeur of it all will inspire spirited and lively debates about whether modern-day writers could match up to the classics. I might as well clear up the rest of my week to handle whatever affairs buying this mansion requires of me. Any social activity can be put off until the Ermengarde, or rather, the Wrights Mansion's great debut. I'll have my fill of great parties and gatherings, especially when I organize them myself.
That sounds good. Although, with a project of this scope, we might need most of the day to tackle your concerns. A more thorough inspection of the place is also preferable.
Breakfast then! It's a date.
It's really not.
Alright, Monday, 10 o'clock sharp. We'll see you then.
Actually, Marianne suggested that we meet at 9, but who's even awake at that unholy hour? I was lucky enough to wake up this morning before Luke went all the way off to Cardiff. We say our goodbyes, shake hands, and make it clear without outright saying it now that we own this house. By the time we left the mansion grounds, sunset is almost upon us.
So, you really want to buy this place then? That's a bit of a big impulse buy, even coming from you. Not that I'm complaining.
Well, I'm glad you're not complaining like you usually do. It's a right and proper Christmas miracle, isn't it? Hannah has finally done something right.
I refuse to look at him, staring at the passing scenery instead.
Hey, Buttercup, what's with this cheek?
Rose, lily, mint. The nerve, Luke, the nerve!
Is that what this is about? One, that woman's name was Rose. And two, you know I don't mean a word of that empty flirting.
And it's still the principle of things, Luke. I understand if you try to woo them to get what you want when it seems that I'm not looking. But I told you once before not to do it when I'm there.
Luke dealt with other women in the past to get what he wanted. Sometimes I have my doubts. I really want to believe that I am an exception, that he's not just using me like how he used those other girls. I'm having a hard time believing that now. And it isn't just the shameless flirting. There's something about that Marianne woman, as if Luke is familiar with her. As much as it shames me, it makes jealousy rear its ugly head. I am, suffice to say, ticked off.
Really? I forfeit my trip to Cardiff for this, and you're still not happy.
Oh, trust me, Luke. I am very happy. Very happy that, for once, we are doing something that I want. Can you not see the smile on my face?
It is only when I let loose those words that the truth hits me like a slap on the face. And by the looks of it, it seems to have the same effect on my dear, darling husband. It has always been Luke wants to do this, and Luke wants to do that, hasn't it? I don't even remember the last trip we went to, which was my own choosing, without needing to get the man's approval. On the other hand, I was pulled along to every single expedition he wished to tackle, and I never objected. The rest of the ride home was spent ignoring each other, pretending the other didn't exist. Arriving at our penthouse, my first order of business is to get into bed. Forget a hot bath and forget the tea. I just want to bury myself in blankets and forget everything in my slumber. Seems that Luke has the same idea in mind as he tags along behind me. But this is something I will not allow at the moment I pass through the door.
Out.
What the bloody hell, woman? This is my bedroom too!
Luke stands, flabbergasted as I deny him entry into our chambers. His pillows lie on the cold tilted floors away from the warmth of our soft down bed, and my gaze promises him the same fate if he does not budge on this matter.
Don't even try to argue, because I am very cross with you, Luke Wright. You can take the second bedroom or the guest room if you wish. But I do not want to see you at all for the rest of the night.
Johans!
Our butler wanders over, a curious expression on his face. He doesn't quite hurry, moving at a relaxed pace, no matter how angry his master sounded.
No, you are not allowed to sleep in my room, sir.
That's not what I mean! Help me talk some sense into her!
There is no sense in questioning her right to be angry, sir. So, if I might be excused, I'll go prepare the second bedroom for you.
I have to keep a straight face as he stomps away in defeat.
Mutiny! This is mutiny! The system is being upturned, and the people are rioting, and everything is left asunder.
It isn't every day that Luke is rendered speechless by someone he considers inferior, or to yield to another authority without an ulterior motive. His pride just won't allow it. I do keep telling the man to treat his people better. He may throw whatever fit he wants, but he will not be getting his way tonight. Victorious, I celebrate by jumping face first into our bed. A dignified yes, but nobody is here to judge me anyway. Right? Nobody is here to tell me what to do. Yet as I succumb to sleep, I can hear them whisper to me. I can hear them whispering. Calling for me. They want me. Need me. They drown me, pull me down, and suffocate me in their embrace until I sink to the bottom. A deep abyss awaits, inviting yet foreboding. They're calling to me from in there, aren't they? And I do want to help, I do. But when I try to reach out, something pulls me back, like a hook sinking itself into my stomach. So there's your jump scare for the game. And I break through the surface with a gasp. Alone in bed and without Luke to hog the covers, I am swathed in cloth and slicked with sweat. It takes me a while to untangle myself and kick them all off. Both the bed and I are a right mess by the end of it all, but I am more than eager to just get up and go out for some fresh air. The days had gone past by a blur. I don't know if that's a British saying, but I'm more familiar with in a blur. The days had gone past in a blur. We hadn't talked much, Luke and I, outside of necessity. In fact, we've hardly talked beyond the topic of acquisitions of properties. Properties being the mansion, obviously. Everything has been so busy that I haven't talked to anyone outside of business, and it is just so stressing. Someone can understand my need for a good chat, preferably over a good meal. There are times when any decent, emotionally healthy, and socially capable person need a good friend. One who will talk to them without the conversation degrading or turning into an argument. Or barring a nearby friend, I have an interior designer under confidentiality agreement to listen to me.
Up, higher, come on now!
The place is bustling with movers, carrying furnishings here and there, along with several trunks and personal belongings taken from our penthouse. I can hear Luke barking at them in the other room, making sure nothing is handled carelessly or gets stolen.
Careful now! I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
It is hard to tune him out. The walls did not do a good job of muffling him at all. But then again, it is Luke. I would still hear him ranting even if we were on opposite sides of the mansion and I'm wearing earplugs.
I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to breakfast, Mrs. Wright, but I already ate, so I should really go back to work.
Nonsense! You arrived so early, you must not have gotten a proper meal. Our butler has made a surprisingly lovely bubble and squeak.
I have no idea what that is.
Sit, sit! I'd situate us in the dining hall, but it is a mess right now. Oh, Johans!
The man in question appears, ready with a tray as he starts to set the table for us. We sit in silence as we are each served a plate. The bubble and squeak, topped by a nicely poached egg with cherry tomatoes and other garnishes adorning the edges of the plate. A cup and saucer and a teapot with some Earl Grey is placed down for Marianne, and I ask for an orange Julius.
How are you liking the project?
Drop that vase and I'll have your head! I know it's only an 8 million yen vase, but I swear, I'll...
So keep in mind, 8 million would translate to about $80,000. And in terms of pounds, I want to say that's something like 55 to 60,000 pounds.
Well, it's certainly a fun challenge, incorporating the designs of a Jacobean manor and the functionality of a modern household. I have ideas I would like to suggest, by the way, about what to use the second bedroom for. I have been informed of your goddaughter and thought a kid-friendly room might be in order.
You read my mind. I was actually going to bring that up. Oh, that would just be so lovely, Marianne. That way, Kylie can bring her friends over as well. And a good friend of mine, Rochelle, is expecting a baby. So, why don't we think about putting a crib in there too?
Or two.
I can just imagine little ones running around, filling this place with the pitter-patter of their feet. We'd have to make sure they don't trip and fall on the stairs, though.
We won't be able to finish everything up until after the party. But we'll have it ready by then, so that all we need to do is to move in the furnishings.
Yes, that's plenty fine. It's not like we're in a hurry to have it. And we wouldn't want the workers to disturb the guests or the other way around, do we? Just make sure it's presentable. You know, in case a guest snoops about.
A certain detective inspector?
Of course. As for the kitchen you wanted, I've already negotiated for the high-end stoves and the hot and cold drawers, so on and so forth. I've got a friend who was able to customize them so that they'll look like the counters we'll be replacing and fit the rest of the interior. They'll be bringing them in today.
Why can't you people do anything right? Don't drag it. You'll scratch the wood.
Excellent. But no, really, how have you liked it so far?
Oh, it has been wonderful, believe me. Everything is going smoothly too. It has been a long time since I've worked on something on this grand a scale. Nowadays, everyone is about condos and flats, living in the city where every room is an identical box. Believe me, this is very refreshing.
We lived in a condo before this, Marianne.
I didn't mean any insult.
It's fine, sweetie. Look at you, all frazzled. I was just pulling your leg. Luke wanted that penthouse when we got married, and you can thank him for purchasing this place as well.
She looks confused. Of course she has every right to be. She no doubt overheard me push that estate agent into the sale, making quite the aggressive offer. She saw me sign the papers for the mansion as well. I just had to scoff.
Don't be fooled. I'm just the treasury. I wouldn't be able to make a purchase this grand without his seal of approval.
I see.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yes, it wouldn't be appropriate to comment further. It is unprofessional.
Unprofessional.
I can't help but let out a deep sigh as I stick a fork into the dish. I didn't want professional. I want someone who will either agree with me, even if it's just for the sake of agreeing, or someone who will try to talk some sense into me. Neutral responses are so boring. There's no discourse in the middle ground.
The food is good. Best bubble and squeak.
Of course it is. Our kitchen staff only uses the freshest hand-picked ingredients. Only the best for the rights.
Mr. Wright is not joining us?
No, he is far too busy bossing people around. He even refused to join me for breakfast earlier. Hence, this.
I see. My apologies. I really don't know what sort of response you expect to get from me.
There's the clatter of silverware as I slam my hands on the table. It is frustrating. I am frustrated. At Luke mostly. But Marianne's neutral professional answers are certainly irksome as well.
You're a human with feelings and opinions, aren't you? Don't give me this bollocks about being professional when we're having a nice friendly chat over a nice and friendly breakfast. I can only talk about interior designs for so long, and I detest one-sided conversations, Marianne.
But I really don't know what to say, Mrs. Wright. We were talking of no topic in particular, and...
Luke. We were talking about Luke.
About him not eating breakfast with you?
About him treating me as if I were some treasury.
I didn't realize I had shouted that out loud, until it is too late. There is a stunned silence that settled before I slumped back into my seat. Hiding my face behind my hands, I can feel my shoulders shake. Breath, I told myself. Calm down. But it is just so hard.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like he doesn't love me anymore. Oh, have I been so blind? Did he ever love me at all? Was our marriage all for the sake of saving his company and his wealth? Because...
Because?
Did I say that all out loud again? No, this is bad. Unacceptable. It has been rumored before, the real reason for our engagement, but if anyone were to know of this... Marriage is a necessity to carry on. Political and financial power used to be a common thing, but the Evans-Wright union is the perfect happily ever after. Was supposed to be. It is true that we first met each other in order to discuss dealings, to make the then failing Wright Enterprise a subsidiary for Evans Incorporated. But I do remember being in love with him, and there were times when he said he loved me back. Even if I'm not sure of what the truth is now. Either way, I do not want the Wright name or the Evans name dragged through the mud because of a slip-up. And if Marianne so much as talked of this. So, obviously, if you threaten her, she gets unhappy. But if you ask for her discretion... Boom. So we're actually closer to Marianne than Luke. Marianne is a good sort, isn't she? So far she has been reasonable and accommodating, even towards Luke's ridiculous requests. Patient and professional. Did it only extend to business? Or would she be able to understand that things like this are not as simple, not as clean as they are painted to be? Certainly I can talk to her. Ask for her...
I won't speak a word, Mrs. Wright. Not only am I contractually obliged to, it would also go against my principles. This is no one else's business but your own, and it should be kept between the two of you, and whoever you wish to seek counsel from.
Please, Marianne. You have to understand these sort of affairs. If anyone were to know this, they could just twist it and we'll be ruined. All I ask for is your silence on the matter.
If I am to be frank, Mrs. Wright, this isn't new for me. You aren't the first, and you certainly won't be the last to have complicated dealings. Unless what you're doing is illegal, I turn a blind eye.
Can I trust her?
If I wasn't in the same boat, I'd be trying to pry those secrets and gossip with you about them by now.
Well, I'm keeping that information confidential as well.
It's not like I have any other choice, do I?
Thank you.
We continue to eat our meal in peace, finishing the last of the food and drink. When the door to the parlor opened, Marianne and I are just sitting in silence.
Madam, the photographer from Luxury Living is here.
I give him nothing but a small nod.
This was a wonderful meal, Marianne. You're free to return to your duties. I must excuse myself.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for the food as well.
Making my way downstairs, I look back and see Marianne give me a nod and a small smile. That certainly put me in lighter spirits. An interview with Luxury Living. That is today, isn't it? Oh, yes. People had caught wind of our new mansion the very moment we left the open house. Luke had boasted he could acquire the property in no time and allowed a photo shoot for an interior design magazine to be scheduled today. Well, there were complications, and it took longer than it usually does for us. Hopefully I won't have any other unfortunate slip-ups with someone who isn't bound by confidentiality. The mansion grounds has been one of the first things to be fixed up, aside from the bedroom. Although it's still a work in progress, it had a promising start, and I can already see the flower patches. Luke's favored daffodils stand out easily, having been transplanted from the pots that used to litter the rooftop of our penthouse. Why, if the moving crew thought that Luke was being hard on them, they clearly didn't see the landscaper on his way out. The man looked like he was ready to faint, and Luke seemed ready to kill him by the end of their discussion. It is in the gardens that I see him standing near the flowers in quiet admiration. He is hard to miss, the hulk of a man that clearly did not belong, and the big backpack and suitcase he has with him makes him look much larger. It is a peculiar sight, seeing someone who looks like he does handling little delicate things with such care. He looks up from the gardens and does a double take before a friendly face replaces his serene expression.
Miss Wright, yeah? Hi, Zachary Steele here from Luxury Living, ma'am. Hope you weren't waiting too long. But it looks like you're still moving in, huh? Thought for a second there my calendar was wrong and I came here too early.
The one and only. Welcome, welcome to Maison de Right. And yes, we've been in the process of moving in as we were delayed. But it won't be a problem. They're just adding a few things here and there, and you should still be able to do your work. Where's the rest of your crew then, Mr. Steele?
Zach is fine, please. Mr. Steele makes me feel like I'm a mascot for a cleaning product. Anyway, I'll be your one-man crew for today. Don't worry, been doing this gig for a while now.
You must be quite the veteran to handle this on your own. We've had a full crew coming into our penthouse the last time we were covered in your magazine.
Veteran? Oh, your words are too kind, Miss Wright.
Hannah, if I get to call you Zach, you have my permission to call me Hannah.
Alrighty then. Anyway, I'm no veteran, but I know my camera well enough to make sure this is a good shoot. You can trust me on that, Miss Wright. Hannah.
So real quick, the whole Miss Wright thing, even though she's married, is still kind of annoying me, but who knows, she might not be married for too much longer. But then again, it's Miss Evans, so go figure. Zachary proves quickly enough that I can, in fact, trust him, his skills with the camera and experience in this industry at the very least. He is kind and courteous, listening and following as I lead him around the house. A really nice fellow, and he treats our household staff well whenever we cross paths with them. I answer his questions to the best of my ability, and he is patient enough to answer mine whenever I get curious enough. For one, I ask what the bags are for. They're quite the magician's toolkit. From inside, he had procured several items to embellish the interior with. Bowls of fruits, lemons, trays of peppermills, stacks of cookbooks, cutting boards, and glass canisters filled with colorful nuts and grains are brought in for a kitchen setting. For the bathroom, there are white towels, seashells, and decorative soaps. There are other things as well, too numerous to count, all in that large backpack and suitcase.
Tricks of the trade. Softens up a room, makes a place feel more homey, and fills it up with texture. But you guys probably have better stuff I can use for this.
No lights. Don't tell me all of these are just props.
Well, I've got my tripod here. For things like these, natural light is best. I'll just have to set the shutter speed to a real slow setting, and as long as nobody steps into the shot, it'll look great.
Oh, it better.
We go through the rooms one at a time, although we first tackle the ones that the movers have no business in anymore. The ballroom needs little preparation with its grand design. Although there is some trouble at first with the wide open space and the pictures being backlit. It is in the kitchen that Zachary's props come in handy, considering how Johannes kept the place so neat and sterile one can practically eat off the floor. We carry on touring the house and taking pictures where we can, with the exception of the rooms which have yet to gain any purpose or design. Too bad I can't take a sneak peek at his photos yet. Funnily enough, he is using a traditional camera. I didn't even know film still existed. With the way he speaks, however, I can see that he knows well enough about his craft that I'm not too worried about botched photographs. I imagine photography must be cathartic for him, judging by how at ease he looks while taking pictures. There are small snippets of conversation in between the clicking of the camera. He even goes as far as to talk about these terminologies like shutter speeds and aperture when I ask about the technical aspects. I can't quite see the picture as it's made, much like when I watch artists paint on their canvas. But just watching someone passionately practicing their craft such as this is exciting in its own way. Going through the many rooms has been quite the exercise for the both of us. Despite that, he's been so nice, and I find myself putting on my best smile. But as we're taking pictures of the foyer, that everything comes to a standstill for a moment. Just a moment. And have I not been paying attention, I wouldn't have even noticed. It is merely a split second when Zachary's rhythm is put to a halt. His finger doesn't move to release the shutter. Yet he also doesn't pull the camera away from his face, gaze still firmly fixed through the viewfinder. His hands shake and there is a light sheen of sweat on his forehead.
Zachary?
No response.
Zach? Is something the matter?
Lowering his camera, he blinks and stares at something behind me before shaking his head. Turning around, though, I see nothing that could have gotten his attention.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something I saw. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
I struggle to respond this time. There's a sudden weight on my back and an indescribable tightness around my throat. Everything stops. And everything starts again as I manage to choke out.
If you're sure.
I don't know what just happened. It was probably just a dizzy spell. I'm fine. And he said he's fine. We continue at the same pace as before, although there is an unspoken agreement that we will not talk about what happened.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do. At least, not all the time.
What is it that you want to do then?
Maybe I've been out of line, sticking my nose in other people's business, but I can't help but ask. I regret doing so as I see his shoulders slump and the easygoing air he has fades away. He looks torn over whether he wants to talk about it or not.
Films. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on this thing, actually.
What thing?
Well, it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
Why, Zach, no one here speaks French. Could you translate that for us in a moment?
People don't like a film about colors. I suppose they would have liked Blue Baby a lot more.
Although she's not going to translate that one for you, so it's Baby Blue.
Very funny.
So, Grand Director, do you want to tell me what Blue Fonzie is all about?
He hesitates. But when I refuse to budge on the matter, he gives in and spills it all out. Bleu Foncé, l'heure la plus sombre des Noirs Britanniques. Dark blue, the darkest hours of the Black British. He speaks with passion of one who has gone through the very matter he is concerned with. There is conviction, knowledge, and experience in his speech. Why, I would have told him that he is an amazing speaker if only I wasn't so engrossed, listening. Prejudice and discrimination in schools and in the workplace. Lesser chances for opportunity and higher chances of being treated like a criminal. He spoke of blacks and people of color in general still being treated like second-class citizens. All because of the color of their skin. So, I think I mentioned before how the whole education system in the US is a freaking mess, and when recently we have Charlottesville to add on top of this for the whole race relations thing. Probably could really use a movie like that in real life. It is all just positively riveting and sad. It comes to a point wherein he loses some steam. He looks abashed, realizing what he had just done.
Sorry, I just got so carried away and...
It's fine. It is really so fascinating to watch people talk about their passion after all. You should see how your eyes light up when you speak so fiercely. You do have very beautiful eyes.
Uh-huh. Thanks, I guess.
It'd be a shame if someone took those. I want to say that I understand where he's coming from, but I really don't, do I? I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I've lived a charmed life. It hasn't been perfect, but the difficulties I've been through pales in comparison to what others experience on a daily basis. I certainly don't know how I would have fared were it any different. Would I still have met Luke, and would he have still loved me if I was any lesser?
What was your home like? These things you talk about. It sounds like you've... Well, I don't mean to pry, I mean.
Live with my older sister and my grandparents. We had a shop selling all sorts of things below our flat. And well, I was one of the few non-white, non-British students in class. I didn't get pushed around or anything straight up. Even then, I was one of the biggest kids around, but a pencil and notebook would go missing, you know?
Oh, that I knew. Children can be so cruel at times. Of course, it may be a slightly different story when you have personal guards, and the stolen item is not a pencil, but an expensive heirloom.
So what about you? How you liking your new house? It's pretty impressive.
It's nice, I suppose.
You suppose? Not big enough?
What? No, oh, don't be a bully. It's just that...
I understand if you don't want to talk about it.
I was a little girl all dolled up and treated like fragile porcelain with nursemaids waiting to me hand and foot. All the material possessions anyone could ever want, I could ask for on a whim, and it would be handed to me just like that. But I barely saw my parents. Just goodbye kisses in the morning before they went off to who knows where they were needed to next. I saw them more often on the telly or in the papers than I ever did in person.
I remember my old house. It was a lot like this one. Big walls and big halls, but nobody in it. Not really. It makes you think how alone you are.
A pensive mood overcomes us, and there's a moment where neither of us is sure how to go on from there. Things have gotten a bit too personal, yet it isn't wholly uncomfortable, like as if we've been friends before.
Well, that's normal, ain't it? You just moved here. You'll make home out of it yet.
He certainly makes it easy to believe that. My childhood house is indeed a lot like this one, just as large and extravagant, and just as empty. I hope he's right.
So, Monsieur le Photographe, you've covered the one and only Ermengarde Mansion.
And that's Mr. Photographer, in case you don't know.
What's next on the agenda?
The interview?
Boring. It's an interior design and housing magazine.
And they want to know what Miss Wright has to say about her interior design and house.
Honor Wright thinks she bought a magnificent house that she can certainly brag about. Blah, blah. Boring. You know what they should print more of? I watched an interesting documentary the other day. Bleu Foncé, The Darkest Hours of the Black British. I recommend you watch it. Those are the things that people should know about. What do they care if I use a purple or green bowl of fruit in my kitchen?
People, right?
Oui. People are shite. What do you think? Do I look good with this angle?
I strike a pose while he's being busy, taken aback for a moment. Probably not expecting me to just go and say such a crass word. But he recovers quickly, and after snapping a few shots, he grins.
Yeah, vous êtes belle.
You are beautiful.
You want copies of these ones?
Yes, please. So, the big boy knows French. You must have wooed a few ladies. Unless you're into gents. Either way, French is, after all, the language of romance.
No, I don't know about quoting fancy poetry, but I've made lunch for a girl before, and they did like that fancy French cuisine.
Can you cook your best?
I could cook just about anything as long as I know the recipe.
C'est magnifique.
Hopefully I know how to translate that one for you, but basically just say magnificent. It has been too long since I've had a nice and proper chat with a good friend. No, Lee is certainly not a good friend. And although we just met, Zachary is the sort who can probably befriend anyone. He's just a comfortable person to be around. A bit too comfortable. The photo shoot went by in a breeze. And somewhere along the way, as we talk and laugh, I find myself getting a bit too close without realizing. He'll give me this strange look until I back off, and he'll go back to asking questions after I agree to do his little interview. It's just odd. Well, no. Me being friendly isn't that odd. That's how I am. Zachary is the one that's being odd. Why, anyone else would be absolutely welcome. Would absolutely welcome the extra attention I give them. He, on the other hand, looks almost flustered about it. He should be used to different personalities by now, having to deal with various people when he works. And if not, he needs to start. Perhaps nobody's shown him attention of this kind, but he's a big boy. He should be able to handle me. All it is a friendly touch here, a pretty smile there, and gentle sway of the hips as I move around. Zachary grew more and more red every time he noticed. Am I being mean as I find enjoyment in seeing him unravel? Perhaps. This went on during the interview and beyond that. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing, right? Zachary and I are just having a playful, friendly chat while enjoying the outside view. At least that's how I see it.
I'm sorry, but I'm really getting distracted. Could you maybe stop doing that?
Stop? I'm not sure if I want to, though. So if you want to lower Zach's affection, go for this one. If you want to boost it, then you need to stop. So already he's kind of low. Well, let's have the Zach romances maybe like a failsafe just in case Marianne's goes south. So let's stop.
I'll stop if it makes you uncomfortable, sweetie.
You can see, boom.
Sorry.
No, I should be the one apologizing. Why, you're a shy one, aren't you, big guy?
It's not that, but...
He gestures to the ring on my finger and lets the fact of the matter hang heavily between us. Being told implicitly that I'm too forward is not a common occurrence. I think I'm more stunned at the fact that he pointed it out rather than, well, being rejected. Not that anything is going to happen between us in the first place. It was just going to be some harmless flirting, right?
So, you've never had a girlfriend?
No. No boyfriend either. You know, just in case you were gonna ask for that one next.
And you haven't even had your first kiss?
Not a one, ma'am.
Do you want to have your first kiss today?
I can't help it. I really, really can't. And I'm going to apologize lots later. Surely by the catty smile on my face, it is obvious I'm just pulling his leg. The laugh I fail to contain certainly gives it away, if it still isn't obvious. But still he lights up in embarrassment, stammering and sputtering objections.
You're married, and this will be extremely unprofessional.
I never said I would kiss you, silly. Oh, Johans!
No, what? No. Don't call your butler. She's Hannah.
That would be for the better. I don't think his husband would appreciate it if I made him kiss another man. I do not think he can hear us from here either. But it is hard to think you're not taken, Zachary. Why, whoever becomes your girlfriend will be so lucky to have you. You can cook and take wonderful photographs. Wonderful meals and wonderful memories.
I can play guitar too.
You can? Oh my. Wonderful serenades as well then. Perhaps I can find a young lady who deserves a fine, strapping young gentleman like yourself.
Let's not get carried away. Besides, I gotta be going. It's getting late and I got someplace else to be.
A shame. I will be expecting you again soon, I hope. For a copy of my photographs, yes?
Course. I'll even deliver them personally. Just, you know, don't try to make me kiss your butler when I drop by.
As fate would have it, the very moment the words leave his mouth, Johannes comes out of the house. Judging by the slight raise of his brows, he has only heard the tail end of the sentence.
There shall be no kissing of any butlers under this roof. Danke.
That's thank you, if I remember my German correctly.
But you are not under a roof, are you, Hansi?
To my amusement, he takes a step back, safely placing himself on the threshold of the foyer and under the roof of the house. And just as ever, he is quick to return with a sardonic reply.
I am now. As I was saying, madam, it's about time for supper. Will I be needing to set an extra place at the table?
Oh, what? No, I was just leaving, actually. So, you have a good night, Hana. And you too, Hansy.
It was nice to meet you, Zach, honey. You have a safe trip.
He nods, and the grin on his face as we say our goodbyes is the sweetest that I've ever seen. I linger, looking out for him with his relatively tiny bicycle, backpack safely secured in the basket by the front and suitcase hooked to the back. I watch as he went down the path back to Anselm Village until he is nothing more than a blip in the horizon. I cannot help the small smile on my face as I go inside for supper. Entering the dining hall causes me so much confusion. It is dark. For a moment I thought the electric work was not up to par. But that clearly is not the case, as every other room is bright with artificial light. Finding the light switch is a monumental task considering the size of my unfamiliarity with the room. To make matters worse, the darkness grants the room a different atmosphere, eerie and frightening. It takes longer than I thought to find the switch, something that will need to be rectified later on. My skin starts to prickle, and there is the distinct feeling of being watched. It unsettles me, and only spurs me on in my search. And when I do open the lights, there is a hiss.
I'll turn the lights down, woman!
Yes, it's worse than the ghost, I know. There at the end of the hall is my beloved husband with his face in one hand and a glass in the other. Perhaps I can let it go if it's only one glass of wine. However, I can feel myself go livid after seeing the toxic green liquid gleam mockingly at me.
Luke, what?
It's absinthe.
Are you drinking absinthe? You know what the doctor said. Absinthe, Luke. Are you actively trying to kill yourself? Because if you are, we can just hit you with a bloody car.
Honeybee, Buttercup, not too loud, please. Besides, it's Lelouch, not too strong. Just hair of the dog that bit me.
So I don't actually know the word louche. I don't know if that's leech or something along those lines.
Helps with the hangover, dearest.
You drank? When?
This morning, love. Don't be mad. I just needed a few drinks, having to deal with those simpletons. And maybe I had one too much. You don't see me whinging about you leaving me to handle them on my own.
I had to attend the photo shoot and interview with Luxury Living. You know that. Let's not make this about me, Luke. This is about you and your drinking problem and...
Oh, I don't know, Hana, darling. What if my drinking problem, as you like to call it, is linked to you? If we think about it that way, this discussion is about you. That was pretty mean of you, leaving me alone to do all the work like that. You can't use the interview as an excuse either, honey. I was informed the moment your little interview was done. So, what was it then, What were you doing?
What's it going to be? Should I tell the truth or a little lie? So even though you're challenging him with the whole Zachary thing, due to the way he hates the media, I believe this pisses him off more. So we'll say we're tending the gardens. So this is the before, this is the after.
I was just tending to the garden, sweetie.
And you can see it improved a little bit.
You were?
For a moment he looks skeptical. I can tell by the gleam in his eyes and the way he sits up in attention. He thinks I'm lying. But I see no point in bringing up Zachary and aggravating him. I did tend to the gardens for a bit, so it's not a complete lie. Just a little white lie. Besides, I know just how to please him. Sauntering over and circling around him, I place my fingers on his shoulders. He lets out a little groan before melting like butter as I massage his shoulders.
I had to make sure they didn't ruin your favorite daffodils.
Oh, that is wonderful.
I'm not sure if he means the massage or the flowers, but I'll take it. This is better than a fight.
So, absinthe.
Just one glass, Loosh.
I suppose I can let this one go. A bit too late anyway, you've already drank half the thing. But remember your doctor's orders.
Yes, I'll try to drink less.
Try.
Hey, I'm only human. Do you want one?
No, thank you.
So just remember, Luke is unaware of her pregnancy. Just in case you haven't figured out why she's abstaining from drinking. Supper is spent in silence with nothing but the occasional sound of silverware. A grand feast has been served, well, grander than usual anyway, most likely due to Luke's complaints of stress. A platter of native oysters for starters, and tranche of turbot with purple sprouting broccoli, lemons, capers, and anchovy sauce for mains. To finish it all off, black tea and golden syrup sponge pudding with custard. But when our appetites are appeased and the plates are cleared away, Luke stands, kisses me goodnight, and leads me to stare at my half-empty cup. Lonely in the lull of night, I sit in a house too big and too empty, foreign and unwelcoming. Even with its warm tone and homely decor, it feels cold. There is no need for tears, however. I know I can get through this like every other obstacle I've faced before. This is a minor setback in what I hope will be a long and happy life. To remind myself that this place is for Luke and for our future children fills me with a renewed vigor. Besides, it looks like someone is having a cry already. The wailing is far away and muffled, yet at the same time it shakes me to my very core as I hear it, as if the suffering is just staying right beside me. Hearing it sends a chill down my spine and makes my skin prickle with goosebumps. Who is that?